Now let us look at the various forms of attacks. We can see in the picture there are 5 diagrams shown over here. The diagram A, in the diagram A we are showing the normal information flow where the information source is on one side and information destination is on the other side, and in between there is a channel through which the information passes without any attack. Next, let us go to figure B. In the figure B, the type of attack is known as interruption. Now what is interruption? You see, unlike normal flow, the information source passes the information but it does not reach the destination. Here the attacker is trying to provide some sort of mechanism to stop the flow of information, and that is called attack on the availability of data. So this is interruption. Next, let us go to figure C, where it is shown as interception. Interception means, like normal flow, the information goes from the source to the destination, but in between the attacker hacks the information and tries to intercept the information. That means it is stealing the information. So this is called interception. Let's go to figure number D, where it is showing modification. This is also an attack. Here, unlike normal flow, the data goes from the information source but cannot reach the destination. In between, the attacker is sitting quietly and it is catching the information and then modifying the data and then passing it over to the destination. So this is called modification of data. And the fifth one is called fabrication. What is fabrication? Here we can see that the source is not at all transmitting any data to the destination. Instead, the attacker is sending some data to the destination and behaving as if it is the source. So this is attack which is called fabrication. So we have seen interruption is an attack on availability, interception is an attack on confidentiality, modification is an attack on integrity, and fabrication is an attack on authenticity. Now I have already talked about different types of attacks. Among them we have passive attacks and active attacks. Now in passive attacks, as I said, the motivation of active attack and passive attack, the motivations are different. For passive attack, the motivation is to steal the information. So there are 2 types of passive attacks. One is no modification of content or fabrication. So in this case, the content that is sent from the source to the destination, there will not be any modification. Only the attacker wants to learn the contents or other information. That means it wants to steal the data. And for active attack, you know, the motivation is quite different. The motivation is to stop the communication between the source and the destination. And in this case, they do modification of the content or they participate in communication. So what are the different forms? They can impersonate legitimate parties. Impersonation means the attacker behaves as if it is the one which is intended. That means it behaves as the source. It can modify the content during transit of the data, and it can also launch denial of service attacks. Denial of service attacks or DOS attack, this means that the attacker will jam the channel or the network with junk messages. So much of junk messages that the original message or the intended message will not be able to pass from the source to the destination. Now this is the pictorial representation of some of the passive attacks. You see, now number 1 we call it release of message contents. Let's say here the 2 persons, there is a Bob and Alice. Let's say Bob is the source and Alice is the destination, who want to communicate over the internet. Now here there is a person who is Darth and actually what he is doing, he is passively trying to read the contents that are sent from Bob to Alice. So this is called release of message contents. Now this is another form of passive attack. Here it is called traffic analysis. In a similar way, Bob is here trying to send some message to Alice, and here Darth is not only interested in stealing the message, but he is interested in stealing further messages. So what he does? He actually observes the pattern of the messages that are sent from Bob to Alice, and based on that he tries to get hold of the key with which Bob is actually converting its plain text to the ciphertext and sending it to Alice. So this is called traffic analysis. Now let us go to some of the active attacks. Number A, we are showing here masquerade. Masquerade means masking. That means the attacker is behaving as if it is Bob. So here Darth is behaving as if it is Bob, and it is sending messages to Alice. So when Alice receives the messages from the Darth that appears to be arriving from Bob, he finds that messages are not up to the mark that Bob sends. So what she does, she disconnects the internet facility and she disconnects the communication link. That is the motivation of Darth. Next comes replay. Here replay means Bob is sending a data to Alice. At the same time, Darth is also capturing the data and it is resending the message to Alice. When Alice receives two messages coming from two different persons, she understands that there is some problem in the communication link and she disconnects the communication. So this is called replay. Now, so we have seen there are various types of security attacks. For passive attacks, we can conclude that two types of attacks are there. One is the release of message contents. What is that? Release of message contents, as we have learned, it is nothing but stealing information. And the other one is traffic analysis. What is that? It is stealing information as well as stealing the keyword so that the attacker can steal further messages. So that is called traffic analysis. And under active attacks or threats, we can find there are masquerade, replay, modification of message contents as well as denial of service. Thank you very much. In the next lecture, we will cover some of the security services and security mechanisms. Thank you.